Tyranitar, Gen 2's pseudo-legendary Pokemon and the Godzilla of the Pokemon universe. Tyranitar is also known to have been a threat in Smogon's competitive singles in every single damn generation it has ever been a part of since Johto.
If they talking T-Tar and you know they talking about the meta too.
But how about in the actual Pokemon Gold and Silver games? Did Tyranitar match its reputation for being one of the most broken Pokemon of all time? Or was the in-game its Achilles heel? Let's find out. It is ironic that our first Gen 2 video begins by addressing a massive Donphan in the room. Some people watching this might be thinking, but Larvitar is not encountered until Mount Silver. Are you really gonna make an entire video on how the red fight goes with Tyranitar? So, two things. One, that would only be true in Gold and Silver. In Crystal, Larvitar can be encountered as a Celadon Game Corner prize. Now, yes, that is also very late in the game, but it is worth mentioning. And two, now we know GF has decided to put Larvitar late in the game because of its pseudo-legendary status, but was that very decision overrating the Tyranitar line? What if it was available early in the game? What if you could find it in the first routes of the game alongside Pidgey or Rattata? That question, ladies and gentlemen, is the one we are about to answer. In our quest for truth, we contacted a pro hacker with a 50,000 IQ to look into the Matrix and have Larvitar be one of the starters in the game. This way, we will be able to know if it completely destroys the game or not. None of Larvitar's other attributes were changed. Level 5 Larvitar starts with the moveset of Bite and Leer, which does not matter a lot for the very easy early trainers until it faces the first mandatory challenge, Falkner, which is bird-type Pokemon. At level 9, Larvitar will have Sandstorm added to its moveset, and while that is not enough to solo the fight on its own, thanks to the dangerous Mud Slap on Falkner's Pokemon, it makes it possible to beat the gym with Larvitar and a flying type like Hoot Hoot to switch into the Mud Slaps and stall PP. In this aspect, Larvitar functions similarly to the rock and ground types you would have access to by this point, namely Onix and of course Geodude. In fact, from this point on, we will be using Geodude as a reference to compare Larvitar against it, since it is basically a version of Larvitar that is available immediately at the start of the game. And so far, they are more or less equally useful. Going forward, Larvitar will be able to deal with some of the random trainers for its team, such as the various rock-type Pokemon on hikers and anything that has only physical attacks. This includes a rock split at the Slowpoke Well, where Larvitar is excellent, but then again, so is Geodude. On Bugsy, Larvitar can definitely solo the fight, though it has a great risk of being poisoned by Kakuna. If that happens, it will not have enough time to 1v1 Scyther, and even if that does not happen, Scyther will prove to be a threat and Larvitar will lose a lot of HP in the best case scenario. Geodude, by comparison, has a much easier time thanks to it learning Rock Throw. This not only beats the Scyther more easily and more quickly to work around being poisoned, but helps prevent Geodude being poisoned at all, thanks to killing the Kakuna faster than Larvitar would with Bites and or Sandstorm. Fast forward to Whitney. Things get even worse for Larvitar against her mighty Miltank. Miltank is an absolute demon with rollout and will beat Larvitar as long as it does not get a totally crazy miss on RNG. Larvitar would simply be too weak offensively and defensively to either hold on long enough or out damage the Miltank fast enough, even if assisted with TM Headbutt. Geodude, on the other hand, has a very decent odds to just 1v1 the Miltank. The reason for that is twofold. One, Larvitar's stats are noticeably worse than Geodude's. Also, Geodude gets access to a crucial move in Magnitude, which is mainly why it has a chance in the first place. Larvitar might try to use Dig, which it learns by TM, but using 2-turn moves against Misty is basically cruising for a bruising. Where Larvitar's Dig will be useful though is Morty's Gym. Dig is, of course, a crazy good move against the poison types and physically frail Ghastly lines. It will be very helpful if its trainer resets curses by switching and using a Mint Berry to play around Gengar's Hypnosis. However, this time Larvitar does not get outclassed by Geodude, but by its evolution, Graveler! Graveler has even better stats than Geodude all around and can beat the Ghost Gym more smoothly without using the TM for Dig, which may be useful for something else. If you were sad for Larvitar just being a worse version Geodude, you will be relieved to hear that Pupitar is, in the next part of the game, not technically worse than Graveler, but your relief will be quickly interrupted by the fact that this is due to both Pokemon being complete garbage. 5th Gym Leader Chuck totally whoops Pupitar with either of his Pokemon, especially Poliwrath, thanks to Surf. 7th Gym Leader Bryce has Ice moves to bury the thing back into the ground, and Claire has Surf on all of her Pokemon, which, all without speed in one shot, Pupitar? More like Pupitar, right? You may have noticed that we did not mention Jasmine, where Pupitar is actually good because it Pupitars all over the Magnemites. Now of course, Graveler also does that and can technically do better on the Steelix, but hey, also Larvitar and Pupitar have a few targets on the rival fight, such as the Ghost line, Golbats, and Magnemite, which, you guessed it, are also handled by the Geodude line. If you are brave enough to put Pupitar in your Elite Four team, you will notice that it is quite underwhelming. Will's Psychic types eat it for breakfast, but hey, it's not like it had some sort of Final Dark type evolution, right? Koga's Poison types are weak to its moves, but they all can either cripple it with status or threaten it with coverage. Bruno totally whoops it, and Karen gives it some chance to be useful in the guise of Gengar and Murkrow, which can probably be handled by a lot of things. Hilariously, Pupitar is somehow semi-decent on Lance, since that guy has a Dragonite with Thunder, Thunder Wave, Hyper Beam, and Twister, which Pupitar can take advantage of. It also can help against Aerodactyl or Charizard, but it is not like it beats all of those three in the same fight, as Pupitar is not exactly the bulkiest Pokemon of them all. In the parts of the game where you are actually supposed to have access to this Pokemon, Pupitar beats Surge, if it does not get bullied by Electrode's crit booms, that is, but does not accomplish much in Kanto apart from that. It is, as it always has been, a worse Graveler, though by the time you reach Blue, you will probably have finally evolved it into Tyranitar, which actually does have broken stats. Tyranitar is actually excellent against Blue. It beats Executor if it switches out of obvious Solar Beams, can beat Arcanine, Alakazam, and feast on the Pidgeot as well, which are all feats that Graveler, or even Golem for that matter, cannot achieve at all. Apart from beating Arcanine, but even that is hard given the poor special defense on that thing. Against Red, Tyranitar can beat the Espeon, the Charizard, and is good on the Snorlax. To sum it up, if GF allowed Larvitar in the very start of the game, it would basically be a worse Geodude all the way to the Elite Four, where it may be better, but then none of the two are even that great, which makes this overrated. Maybe GF's attention was not to balance Tyranitar, putting it late in the game, but simply hide its flaws from us by only allowing it later, where it can at least be great against Blue, not bad against Red. But what do you think of the Gen 2 Tyranitar in-game? Would you bother catching one yourself? Feel free to tell us in the comments whether you like this what if type of video. We would love to make more of these if you did. Check out these videos we have up, and as per usual, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. On that note, have a nice one.